Operation Heavy Metal's test server and patch notes just released, and with it are some major changes to the game and some amazing new content to discover. So I'll be covering everything you need to know to prepare yourself for this crazy new season, along with my opinions on whether or not this stuff is going to make a genuine change in the meta or the way we play the game. But I don't want to waste your time, so let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Now, the first major thing we need to discuss, and arguably the biggest, is the new operator, Ram. Ram's gadget is the buggy auto breacher. This is basically a massive tank drone that she can throw or place down on the ground. And when she does this, she can activate it and have it go one of three directions. She can have it go straight, slightly turn to the left, or slightly turn to the right. And when she activates it, it will go in that direction, destroying anything in its path. It will destroy soft surfaces of any kind and any sort of utility. Yes, I mean absolutely anything. It will destroy castle barricades, Azami Kibas, Aruni gates, Jaeger ADSs, quite literally anything it comes in contact with, it will destroy, including the floor, which is why a lot of people are considering Ram to be one of the best vertical play operators in the game, because she gets 4 of these insane drones that can destroy a huge amount of the floor below. And the best part is that while they're doing that, Ram doesn't have to put herself in danger at all like Sledge or Buck. She isn't at risk of getting nitroed because her drones are doing the work for her. Additionally, Ram's drones are completely bulletproof, which means defenders cannot shoot them from below. They have to waste impacts or nitro cells to get rid of her drones, which means the defenders better be bringing a lot of explosives if they want to be able to deal with a Ram. The only other way to counter Ram outside of explosives is to shoot that red canister on its back, but that's very hard to do from below, and a lot of the time defenders will not be able to do that before Ram stops them. Now, on top of all of that insane utility she gets out of her drones, she also brings secondary hard breach gadgets to the table, which allows her to open hatches for her team or open hard walls, and she has the option for flashbangs, which means she can burn ADSs for her team additionally. Also, her loadout isn't anything to sleep on either. She gets access to the R4C with a 2x and a 1.5, which is absolutely crazy. One of the best assault rifles in the game, especially with it having a 1.5 and a 2x. And she gets the LMGE as her other primary option, which may not be great, but who really cares? She has the R4C. That's what matters. And her secondary options are really good as well, with her having the ITA-12S and the MK1 9mm pistol. The ITA-12S is definitely the better option because it gives her more soft destruction capability on top of her drones, but they're both very solid to say the least. I will say her one major downside is that she is a 3 armor, which a lot of people hate playing 3 armors on attack, but since Ram brings so much utility and she has good guns, I really don't think that will matter that much. Moving past the new operator, we then have some pretty controversial changes in the form of the game mode updates. Ubisoft has decided to completely rework the way quick match and unranked works, which is going to have major implications for the way a lot of players are going to be playing the game, because a majority of players don't even play ranked. Now, the way they're reworking quick match is by doing the following. They're going to be making everything faster. This means the action phase, the preparation phase, and everything in the game is going to have a quicker timer. This is going to be huge for making the game just feel more fast-paced in quick match, and it's also just going to help you not have to waste time going through a long preparation phase where you're placing reinforcements and doing all that. You won't have to deal with that in quick match. You're just going straight in. And to help you with that, Ubisoft has decided to make pre-site setups. This is basically going to be pre-placed reinforcements around the map to help you set up each bomb site. So let's say you go basement on bank. Basement on bank is going to have pre-placed reinforcements for you to use at your disposal. You'll still have a little bit of reinforcements left to place down, but for the most part, all of your reinforcements are going to be placed down during quick match, which is going to be pretty huge. I have seen that some of these setups can be pretty inaccurate to the way you would set them up in ranked, but you're playing quick match at the end of the day. I don't think it really matters that much. Now, another major change that they're doing to the game that's going to make a lot of people upset in a quick match specifically is that they're getting rid of spawn peeking. Attackers are going to have complete invulnerability for the first 10 seconds of the round. They're not going to be able to take any damage, which means they're basically guaranteed to get out of spawn without you getting a run out on them or getting a spawn peek. And also, if the defenders even try to do a run out, they won't be able to because they're going to be blocked for the first 10 seconds as well. So this is a massive change for getting rid of spawn peeks. They're wanting to do this so that way attackers don't have to spend a long time watching around, spectating because they got domed by a defender. They want to get rid of that because they think it's unhealthy for the game, which is fine to me, as long as they keep it in quick match. If this comes into ranked, then we'll have an issue, but since it's just quick match, I don't think it really matters. Now, the one thing I do think that matters about these changes, and one that I think is a very negative change, is the reduced map pool in quick match. They've reduced the map pool in quick match to only 10 maps, which at the time of recording is house, clubhouse, Consulate, Bank, Chalet, Favilla, Coast, Tower, Villa, and Night Haven. This is really not a good change. Ubisoft should be having all of the maps available in Quick Match because that is the one place that people are able to play all the maps, even the bad ones, and it can still be fun because they don't have to worry about, you know, elo or anything like that. And then removing it from those areas is, to me, a detriment to the game as a whole, because you want people to be able to play all the content, and removing half the content from the game, well, more than half the content from the game in half the modes is pretty annoying in my opinion. Now, moving past Quick Match, the changes to Unranked are basically, they're just turning Unranked into the old Quick Match. They're removing bans entirely, and they're also going to be removing a lot of the overtime. They're reducing it to only 1 round, which means this is basically going to turn into old Quick Match for the most part. There's some slight differences, like for example, you're now going to be able to pick the bomb site you want to go and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think this is actually a positive change, because I think the old Quick Match, what all it really needed was the ability to like choose your own bomb site and stuff along those lines. So I'm happy that Unranked is basically turned into what I wanted Quick Match to be. But this does mean that the old Unranked that some of you might have played a lot and enjoyed is no longer a thing, because in Unranked, which is now called Standard, you are no longer going to have access to the bans and stuff like that. It's no longer going to feel like a ranked match. It's just going to feel like your old casual. Anyways, moving past the game mode changes, we're now going to be talking about the major balancing changes that are going to have some pretty big implications on the way you play the game. Specifically, the first two, which Grim is getting fire modes added to his launcher, which is going to allow him to press a button, and when he does, it's going to toggle his launcher from shooting bouncy bees or normal bees, which basically the bouncy ones are going to bounce off a surface similar to Tachanka's fireballs, and the normal ones are just going to act like the old Grim bees used to. They'll deploy onto a surface and then they'll pop out bees. This is a really good change because now Grim can actually deploy his bees from behind cover or over surfaces a lot easier because they'll bounce, like I said. So this is overall a good change. I hope they eventually implement this fire mode system to Tachanka as well, because I think it would actually be a cool idea. I think there are situations where you don't want Tachanka's fire to bounce, and so giving that ability for Tachanka to do that as well would be a welcome change too. But overall, I think this is a really good change. I'm happy to see that Ubisoft are giving Grim some love. Anyways, moving past Grim, we're now going to be talking about Legion, which has some pretty major balancing changes coming his way, which are going to completely change the way you play the game. Legion's goo mines are going to be turned into a mechanical gadget, which means they're not going to be countered by your old electronic counters that you would use, like EMPs or IQ's gadget or Brava's drones or anything like that. None of that's going to work. And this is because his goos are now considered to be mechanical and not electronic. Additionally, his traps are going to be dealing way more damage across the board. I'm not going to go deep into the numbers because then we'll be sitting here for like 30 minutes talking about Legion, but they're basically buffing all of his damage numbers across the board, and they're also giving him 1 additional trap. And they're reducing the refill timer on his traps, which means he gets more of them. So now his traps are going to be absolutely cracked. There's going to be a ton of them. They're going to deal good damage. And the only downside to them is they're now going to be more obvious because his goos are no longer invisible. But I really don't think that's going to matter that much because people will just adapt with the way they play Legion. Instead of just throwing them in a hallway, you can throw them under a window, or, you know, however you want to do it, under the floorboards in the room. However you want to figure it out, the players will find a way to adapt their trap placements to Legion no longer having invisible goo mines. So to me, this is overall an interesting change. I don't know why they chose to rework Legion because I don't think he needed it, but it's definitely interesting to say the least. But the final change to Legion that they're doing is they're giving him a super shorty, which this, on top of the massive buffs to his gadget, is going to make Legion, in my opinion, one of the best operators in the game. He's probably going to end up being somewhere in the A or S tier category. I'm interested to see how this plays out in the live build. I don't know if all of these changes will go through because it might be a little bit overtuned, but we'll just have to see. Moving past Legion, we then have some small changes to Fuse and Zero, which is basically they can now deploy their gadgets on a deployable shield. It really doesn't matter that much. The only use case I can see this being useful for is, like, for example, if you want to make vertical holes with Fuse, you can now place his cluster charge on an OSHA shield and then use it to make vertical holes. But that's going to be used very rarely, and it's not going to be a very consistent use for Fuse's gadget. So to me, this is a nothing burger of a change. Now, the final balancing change, and a very controversial one at that, is the shotgun changes. Basically, Ubisoft is going to be making shotguns have a way tighter spread when they're ADS'd, and they're going to have a way wider spread when un-ADS'd. This is going to punish players for trying to hip fire, but it's going to reward players for trying to ADS when taking gunfights. But additionally, this is also going to have some effects on the destructive capability, because now when you hip fire, your shotgun is going to be hitting a way larger area, which means in a soft wall, you're going to be able to make way bigger holes. So this is going to make you have to spend less time making head holes, making rotates, any of that stuff, and it's going to make your shotguns deal more damage at range. I think the main reason Ubisoft is doing this is to make shotguns a more viable option on defenders that don't have secondary SMGs of any sort. I can definitely see where Ubisoft is coming from with this. I don't think it's a necessarily bad idea. They've just way overtuned this, because shotguns right now on the test server are absolutely shredding, and they're definitely going to have to tune down the damage of these shotguns if they want to keep this in the live build. But for now, it's definitely something you need to keep your eye on, because we could be in a shotgun meta very soon if they don't do anything about it. And now the final thing I want to discuss in this video is the pick and ban rate charts. In these charts, there's some interesting information, to say the least. First off, Iana and Ash are way off the attacker pick rate chart, which I'm not surprised, to be honest, but it's definitely interesting to talk about because I'm curious to see what Ubisoft are going to do about it. They are way overtuned right now, and they're probably going to get some nerfs in the future, which to me, Ash doesn't need nerfs. People are just picking Ash because she has a good gun and she's a 3-speed. So hopefully Ubisoft doesn't go too overboard, but we'll just have to see what they do in the future. But some other things I find interesting is the fact that Nook has kind of fallen off a little bit as well in her pick rate. Nook was at one point one of the strongest operators in the game, but she's fallen off drastically after they nerfed her gadget. So that's interesting to see. Another thing that's interesting is that Grim has actually gone up a little bit. He's not, you know, in the bottom 3 like he used to be, which is warranted considering he just got a rework that's made him a lot more fun to use, better. But outside of that, there's nothing really interesting to talk about on the attacker side of things. But on the defense side of things, there's definitely one thing you've noticed at this point, which is that Thorn is now in 2nd place, which a couple of seasons ago, no one would ever even think that Thorn would make it this high on the tier list. But this just goes to show how overpowered the 1.5 can be. Just giving an operator a 1.5 can make them go from one of the worst operators and least picked in the game to one of the best in the game. And that's what's happened here with Thorn. Ubisoft did address in the patch notes that they want to do something about the 1.5 in the near future. Now, what they will do, I have no idea. Hopefully it will be something like removing the 1.5 entirely from the game or giving it to everyone, but they need to figure out some way to get around the fact that the 1.5 has basically become a balancing metric for the defensive side. Additionally, some things I find interesting is that Jaeger is losing even more placements on the pick rate chart and the win rate chart. Jaeger is now considered to be the 3rd worst operator in the game pick rate wise on defense, which is absolutely insane to me. But he's also dropping off in pick rate, where he's now not even in the top 5 of defender pick rates. So it's definitely interesting to me that Jaeger has fallen off so hard. I'm definitely curious to see if they're going to give him some sort of buff to try to make up for this, but we'll just have to see. Additionally, I also want to point out that Legion and Frost were literally perfectly in the middle of the chart, and for some reason Ubisoft is going to be balancing them literally based off Ubisoft's metrics alone that we're looking at right here on screen. Frost and Legion are in the middle, and they're considered to be okay operators. But for some reason, Ubisoft has decided that they want to buff Legion to absolute oblivion, and they want to nerf Frost for some reason. It's not going to be a major nerf to Frost, but still, because the Frost rework is coming, Ubisoft has decided that they want to be balancing those operators this patch, which I'm at a loss for words at this point. I don't know why Ubisoft is balancing the operators they're balancing, but hey, as long as they're mixing up the meta, who really cares at the end of the day? As long as this will do something to change up what operators people are picking, I don't really care. But they will need to do something about Solace, Fenrir, and the Zombie, because they continue to climb placements on the pick rate chart, and they're also by far the most annoying and overpowered operators to go against in the game. Anyways, that's going to wrap up today's video. Let me know how you guys feel about Operation Heavy Metal in the comments down below. I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys have to say about it, because for me personally, I'm very hyped about this new operation, but I know a lot of you will have very different takes from me, and so I want to hear you guys out. So leave it in the comments down below, and I'll definitely get to your comment. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, I make Siege content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. Also, if you want to see more of me, go follow me on Twitch, because I'll be going live roughly 2 hours after this video goes up, and hopefully I'll see you there. Also, if you want to be involved with my streams or future videos, go ahead and pop over into the Discord. I'm trying to get more active over there, so don't be afraid to go ahead and join up. I'm sure we'll have some great fun. Also, if you want to watch another video just like this one, I'll be popping up on your screen right now that I'm sure you'll enjoy. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.